What's good, guys? Welcome to the channel. Welcome back if you're a regular. Welcome in if you're new here. I go by the name PV Pete, and today we're diving into No Rest for the Wicked. Now, it's been a minute since I dove into a new game. I've been sucked into Classic WoW the past few months, so I was pretty happy to take the plunge and do something else. The game initially, I had seen some compatibility and performance issues. It's labeled as early access still, so I had it added on my wish list. I sat on it for a few months and finally pulled the trigger a few weeks ago. This is not going to be a full-blown game review, but more first impressions, and what I aim to do is share some insights so you can decide if you want to invest your real-life hard-earned cash into its early access stage or wait around till the price drops. I spent $40 USD on Steam, which isn't super unreasonable as long as you get your value and understand that the game is not fully released yet. I imagine they're going to increase that price when the game fully releases, whenever that might be. We'll go ahead and start in their words. From Moon Studios, the award-winning developers of Ori and the Blind Forest and Ori and the Will of the Wisps, comes No Rest for the Wicked, a visceral precision action RPG set in a stunning handcrafted world. Discover enchanting lands and frightening dungeons as you explore a world filled with enemies and bosses who will challenge you to be strategic and hone your fighting skills. With multiple difficulty options, you can shape your journey to match your playstyle, whether you're here for the story or the immersive combat. Collect resources, cook meals, upgrade your gear, and build your custom home, all while a living, teeming world evolves around you. Let me just say I was thoroughly surprised with how visually attractive this game is. The lighting, the weather effects, the art style, which kind of feels like this oil painting paired with 3D elements and this cartoonish character design. It sort of reminded me of caricatures. You see those TikToks of artists drawing people on the side of the road and they make them look ridiculous, but it's so far past what they actually look like, it's not hurtful. Well, I think some of those people laugh through the pain, but you guys get it. Characters have exaggerated features, they have these odd body types, and initially I was like, well, this is kind of weird. And is it weird for the sake of being weird? But I genuinely grew to love it. It's charming in its own right, for sure. The world itself is awesome to look at. The trees and the flowers move with the wind. You're going to catch critters running around and interacting with the buildings and NPCs. It actually reminded me a lot of Fable, the Fable series. There are big filters and details on everything. The ambient noise is excellent. The music is moody. It's foreboding. The voice acting I've enjoyed thus far. You know, it doesn't seem like they cut any corners there. And finally, the overall mood of the game is depicted as dark. You know, I'm not going to say it's a happy game, and I think that's on purpose. There's this evil in the world, and you have to fight your way through it. It's almost like they fostered a depressing environment, and it worked great. I think the only way you'd be disappointed with the visuals here is if the oddities of it kind of turn you off, or if you prefer like a minimalist design. They took a big risk, and you're going to appreciate what you see in the first few cutscenes. Now, I know I mentioned Fable here. The game does remind me a lot of Fable in terms of how the controls feel, the visuals, the snarky comments made by NPCs when you walk past them.
All that strength? I've seen tougher ducklings.
I would also say the gameplay is heavily influenced by Souls-like titles, and even some Baldur's Gate. When fighting, you're going to constantly be dodge rolling, blocking, taking consumables. Button mashing is not encouraged. This does not work. Combat is pretty punishing. So if you do like Fable, that style of mixing melee and magic, as well as the mechanics and boss fights of Souls-like games, you're going to feel right at home. All of this, plus the crafting system, being able to purchase and manage player housing, gathering resources, enchanting, and imbuing weapons and armor. It's a pretty robust game overall. In addition, there are daily and weekly quests available, which can give you a shot at nice rewards. It gives you something to work toward if you don't feel like following the story. And they have a crucible system. That's where you enter the dungeon, you're going to fight waves and waves of enemies, you complete stages, collect rewards, go to the next level of difficulty. In No Rest for the Wicked, you really can build out your playstyle and focus on what you're interested in most, and do that from the ground up. And you don't pick a class per se, but rather spec your attribute points into the skills you want to focus on, in addition to picking the weapons and armor you prefer. But some weapons and armor require a certain amount of points to be invested in that attribute. For example, you can't wield a big two-handed sword unless you have the required points in strength, but you can mix and match. So right now I'm doing a battle mage type build, wearing heavy armor, but I have a lot of points invested in intelligence and faith, so I can wear plate but shoot lightning bolts. You know, everything scales with your attribute points. You can be a glass cannon or sort of a balanced jack of all trades. There is a lot of freedom there. Plus, on top of all of this, the story. Like, I am seriously invested, dude. Like, right off the rip, I'm invested. If you like fantasy stories with kingdoms and factions battling for supremacy and political corruption and hostile takeovers and evil forces threatening the world, and you get to be the hero, the mysterious stranger from a faraway land, you're gonna like it. I knew I was in after the first hour, the opening sequence. I was like, damn, okay, you know, I'm in. You got me. This is sick. You know, where's this gonna go? No spoilers though. Okay, so for some of the things that I don't like, I hate a game that has levels while also not being able to rotate the camera. And by levels, I mean stories. Like you can move vertically upstairs or climb vines on the side of a mountain face to a new platform or drop down a hole underground in the same space. And the devs made a note to suggest playing with the controller, which is what I've been doing. And naturally, the first thing a gamer does is press buttons to move the camera around. And I come to find out you cannot rotate the camera. And this feels a little odd at first because there's a lot of exploration and there are hidden chests and little items that are hard to see and you can't rotate the camera. So with the amount of exploration the game encourages you to do, it's a little frustrating. But the scenery closest to the camera or in front of your character does fade away so you can see through it, which helps you get around. It's a little frustrating you can't rotate the camera. Another for me is going to be the lack of a mini-map. It's just a quality of life thing. I know that's a big design decision to not include it, but without a mini-map or a quest path indicator, it kind of feels tedious to continually open your map every 20 or so steps. Luckily, you get a sprint, which helps, but the game wants you to explore, it wants you to revisit areas, it wants you to invest more time to memorize the environment. The more you play, the muscle memory is going to kick in and you're going to start to memorize these routes. There is a fast travel system, so that does help battle what might have felt a little repetitive. So I still think there are opportunities to make some quality of life changes, especially to the crafting system, the player housing, and city building systems. You know, for example, there are houses for sale, but when you hover over them on the world map, you can't see what the price is. You physically have to run to them to read the sign. Not a major issue, just a quality of life thing I think they could add, and it wouldn't take too much from the game. And these are the little things I would like to see improved. Concerning optimization and performance, which is where a lot of the issues were early on, now this is to be expected, it's in early access. I personally have not had these issues. It runs great on my PC, a couple frame drops from time to time, but that's usually when large combat situations are going on because visually there is a lot going on. So I get it, not a deal breaker for me by any means. It's hard to judge a game price sometimes because I think to get the best value out of a game, or if a game shows real value, there's replayability. The alternative being you're so satisfied you can complete the game just one time and never need to go back because you left satiated. I don't know where No Rest for the Wicked is going to land quite yet. They have the Crucible, they have dailies and weeklies, player housing, which suggests the devs want you to come live in their world, and suggests at some point there's going to be co-op or shared player hubs of some kind. Now, I would hate for the players who do enjoy the game to be burned out before that happens, but when the game fully releases, I'm going to expect some influx of new players, which might bring the vets, quote unquote, the vets back, especially if there's some co-op or PvP of some kind. So, should you buy it in its current state? I would say, honestly, if you're a fan of that Fable-style vibe, that Fable-style adventure, you like Souls-like combat, mechanics, big boss fights, you enjoyed Baldur's Gate environments, a rich fantasy story, and don't mind some of those few early access quirks, I'd say $40, at least for me, is about the top end. If it was closer to 60 and it was in early access, I might wait on it, but $40 I think is well earned by the team here. It's got a great foundation. It's got a lot of heart behind it. If you prefer a fully polished experience, just wishlist it and check back in after a few more updates. Either way, I would keep an eye on this one, and $40 is an appropriate price in my opinion. Thank you guys for sharing your time with me, and you've made it this far. A huge thank you. If you want to see more videos like this or anything from my channel, be sure to drop a like, a comment, a sub. All of these are the freest ways to support myself and the channel alike, and to make sure we keep getting thrown into that algorithm. Be sure to check out the Midnight Release podcast wherever you get yours. Each episode, I sit down with other creators to chat about life or games or really whatever comes to mind, a way for us to vent and reflect. I go by the name PvP, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace.